I got 2 C-stands, rigged them up, rigged up arms, put a 300X up there with a lantern right in front of the car for street light. And we put a Nova in the back to give like a color pop as like a neon sign. Made it green, and then I had, I told folk, get in the street with a Pavo tube and just kind of wave it like that to show, okay, there's traffic going by.
As a film director, I've had the pleasure of working with so many dope people from around the world. And in between takes, some of the most insightful conversations take place. Raw, unfiltered, and full of gems. Film Homies is all about bringing those moments to you. Real talk with real filmmakers, sharing stories, game, and the love of the craft.
I really wanted to go back to the beginning of when we met, which I think was, what's that, 2018, 2017?
I think 2018.
Yeah, 2018. It was, we had met prior to that, but we didn't really have like any significant interactions. But we really got to chop it up 2018, around the time
Trinity.
Little Church. Yeah, Trinity. When Little Church came.
Yeah, because we were doing like press, like we did the Brenda Pyramid show, Rest in Peace.
Yeah.
And then I won the Emerging Filmmaker Award, and he presented me with the award.
Yeah.
So I came to the Little Church premiere. You came to Affliction. So it was that time.
Yeah. and you remember we did the show that we were doing for the city where we were showcasing short films.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's when I first heard you about Right On, the idea. I hadn't even written the script yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because me, I'm quick to walk through an idea like from start to finish just to be like, okay, does this work? Does this work? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But my point is, I want to talk a little bit about your journey in terms of like where you were when we first met. In, I would say, in every way, shape, or form. You know what I'm saying? And then where you are today and what was that journey like? Because when we first met, you were directing. I mean, you were DPing, you had DP'd a couple films for Beezy and stuff like that, but it seemed like they were like more like side projects. But I guess talk a little bit about your history with directing and where you were at that time, around 2018, Affliction. Great short. It's still on YouTube. It's like 20 minutes short. There's a precursor to the feature, that we did. But go ahead.
Yeah, so directing at that time, I think to give it context, me, like my, getting into film, kind of dates back to Shutter Island, watching that, Inception, watching that, and then just really being, really being obsessed with Christopher Nolan's work and his journey and how he did it. And, one thing without like a quote he had, was, if you want to get a movie done, you got to write it yourself. And, for me, I took that as, I directed myself too. So when I first got introduced to filmmaking, like me and a couple of my homies from Pontiac, we would just, like, it started with just me, like me just, having ideas, going with my, my webcam on my MacBook at the time, before I got a camcorder, and the camcorder turned into SLR. Like, it was just me at first, and then I started getting my homies involved, and then we created like a little creative collective, and then we started doing our own, our own little shorts. And I would direct those. And so after a while, like, I kind of correlated writing and directing at the same, as the same. So I'm like, man, I know how to write. I got imagination. I got ideas. This means I need to direct. So coming up to 2018, when I did Affliction was born out of my grandma passing away. And I was working corporate, I was working a corporate job at the time. I was just really, really unhappy. And so when I did Affliction was like, okay, get me the Affliction, the short. That was like, get me back into that creative space, that creative mode, outside of the corporate world, be able to express myself, the way that I once did before I was working corporate. And so my relationship with directing at the time was, I felt like that was my path. And really, I didn't understand, like looking back at it in hindsight, I really didn't understand that directing was kind of a means to an end. It was a necessity at the time for me to just kind of get my ideas out and get things out that I wanted to do. But it wasn't until we had a conversation before the feature, the Affliction feature. We had a conversation, and you had encouraged me to do another short before doing the feature, because it had been such a long time from the Affliction short to the time where I was trying to do the feature. I think it had been like a year and a half since that point. And you said, well, you had asked me, like, what have you directed since then? And I'm like, hey, I haven't done much anything. Like, I think you should do a short. And we did the short, we did My Escape, directed that, and then directed the feature. And then after that, it was another gap between directing. And I remember you asked me, I remember where I was when we had the conversation, because I rejected it at first. I'm like, man, I want to BP, man. I'm trying to direct. Like, that's what I'm trying to do. Like, that's what I'm trying to do. And you're like, yeah, I think you're like, my secret plan is for you to DP. Because you're gifted. You got the skill, like you got the gift for it. And I was still very much like, I'm directing. I want to direct. I don't want to DP. A lot of it was ego, like me looking at it as like, I want to be the one that's in control of the ideas and how the film is made and things like that. Because I couldn't see it at the time. And so when you said it, I was like, man, I'm not trying to do that. But yeah, it wasn't until we did The Inheritance. We did that, and The Inheritance led to me getting hired to do McGraw. And then when I did McGraw, it was like, okay, all right, now I'm starting to see what you were talking about.
Low key, it wasn't just The Inheritance. You remember, it was the Darker Than Blue promo video.
Oh yeah.
With the push in where I'm in front of the blue background. It was that. And I remember T hit me up. He's like, man,
in the studio.
I gotta get y'all on something, dog. Cause that was like our brothers. And I'm like, well, Chuck shot that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, but continue on.
Yeah. It was, it was really, this part I didn't get a chance to say, but I think when we had a conversation about directing, and you had asked me, you said, when was the last time you directed something? And I told you. Then you asked me, you said, well, when was the last time you shot something? Like, just take a picture with your camera, whatever. And I said, yesterday. And you were like, hey man, directors direct, bro. Shooters shoot. You a shooter. That's what you do. And yeah, it wasn't until, the inheritance promos. I mean, even Affliction in a way. I think Affliction was like, because I had never made anything that looked like that before, to be honest. Like, Affliction was just like, man, I was shocked. I'm like, man, we did this. Like,
Yeah. And you took a
why,
lot of big swings. You took a lot of big swings.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny. A lot of the things that you did in Affliction are similar to what we did in Heaven. When I'm looking back at it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like if you think about that conversation with Zell and Phil in the gym at the church, where it kind of like follows, like the movement in those, like the handheld stuff is similar. I mean, of course, in Heaven is way better. You know what I'm saying? And Tom was just carrying a Pocket 4K with no rig, no nothing. You know what I mean?
You just holding,
You know what I'm saying?
Shout out to Tom, man.
Yeah, exactly. But yes, Thomas Pulowski, that's our guy. You know what I'm saying? He's a dope DP in his own right. But yeah, a lot of the stuff that we did on Affliction kind of came back around to Heaven. But I know we're gonna get into Heaven later, so continue on with the continue on.
But yeah, I think that I think my relationship with directing, and kind of finding that, kind of realizing what gifts I have visually, like just making images. I like to think that those two things kind of come hand in hand with just my own like journey with therapy, getting to know myself, getting to become more aware of, who I am, and just my relationship with creativity. And, just those conversations, man, the conversations that we have they're so invaluable, because they just, it just keeps a lot of things in the perspective. Just even during the pandemic when we would, talk about, the type of images that I shoot, the type of people that I capture. Just even those conversations, just like, oh man, I never thought about it like that. I never, like it made me reevaluate, like, man, my relationship with photography back then was chase trends. But, after, we would have like those conversations, it would be like, okay, what am I trying to say? What am I trying to do? It's really not about trends. Trends come and go, but, have things I need to inherently get out. And this is a way for me to do it. And, I can just roll out of bed, pick up a camera, and I can go do it. So, yeah, man. Yeah. The journey from, just kind of figuring it out, from one thing to another is just, just been it's kind of crazy to look back at it and think about, how far that journey's been, but
especially how quick it's happened. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because honestly, I feel like, we've been on this journey together since 2019. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't really count Right On. I think Right On was a great project, but it was sort of like, that was kind of like, it was a bunch of different people involved. You know what I mean? It was, it was a bunch of different people involved. Marshall, Brock, Eden, like, then the crew was Courtesy Flag and, all of them, which shouts out to all of them. You know what I'm saying? But like when we did My Escape, or really you did My Escape, I just did the BTS video. And when we did Affliction, the feature.
You helped me with the script too.
Oh yeah. I mean, you had that, but I feel like we really hit our stride in 2020. To be honest, like I feel like because we had so much time during the pandemic that it was just like we were just constantly just doing stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because I think like from like 2020. From 2020, I remember we were doing a lot of film photography at that point because that's pretty much all you could do was go outside and shoot. I know we both started developing, and we were like studying films. I think that's when we were watching all those films like An Elephant Sitting Still,
In the Mood for Love.
In the Mood for Love.
Chun King,
Chun King, like. like Poetry and Burning and all of those joints, you know what I'm saying? Of course, later would come like It's Not a Resurrection and all of those things. But it was just, Residue. Residue was a big part of that time.
Khalik Allah.
Yeah, Khalik
Good
Allah,
stuff.
discovering the Khalik Allah, all of that stuff, man. And I feel like to a degree, I feel like we both sort of were able to help each other like hone like further who we wanted to be. And I feel like to a degree that really came through in Darker Than Blue in a lot of ways, you know, even though it was only like 4 shorts that got made and it was supposed to be more, but Darker Than Blue was really like, that was when people started hitting us up like, hey, we want y'all to work on this or we want y'all to work on that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, it's definitely crazy how quick it happened. And again, I mean, we can't talk about your ascension as a DP as if we don't talk about like the work on McGraw, you know, season 2 of McGraw Ave. Because I mean, I think that really sort of changed everything, you know, for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was like season 2 of McGraw Ave is like kind of like one of those watershed kind of moments for like DP work here in Detroit. You know what I'm saying? Because it was so polished and it was so good. Y'all took so much time on it, and it got the clout too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was like artistic, but it still got the clout. It was still like loved. You still got hood love. You know what I'm saying? So I guess talk a little bit about, you know, your experience working on that, and less about like the dynamics and everything like that, but more about just like like your creative input and just like taking the big swings and just, you know, it just seemed like during that time where you shot McGraw, A Serial Cheater, like you were just doing some audacious shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I remember I was watching McGraw for I'm like, bro, bro, Chuck is just like, he wilding. Like, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You know, it's crazy because I remember when I got the call to shoot McGraw, I was blown away. I'm like, y'all want me to come shoot this? Like I couldn't believe it. And you know, that initial conversation, you know, was like, hey, this is what we want to do. We thinking we want to shoot in 55 days. And, you know, like we want to start in the summer and, you know, like you're interested. And I'm like, yeah, I took that as a, you know, I took that as a big challenge because, you know, what they were able to do with the first season, like the success of the first season, you know, I really took it upon myself to go, okay, y'all did this already. And the show like blew up to critical acclaim, you know, like people, you know, from all over the country has seen it, you know, walking up to Murder, you know, and, you know, they know who he is. They know who, you know, Tristan is. They know who Diesel is. Like, it, you know, they know who Shamar is. So it's like, okay, this is, you know, like, all right, I gotta go in here and, you know, prove myself, you know, prove that I can, you know, help elevate this thing. So those first, you know, the first couple meetings and, you know, things like that, you know, was about, you know, they were asking me like, you know, she was like, hey, what do we need? Like, what gear do we need? You know, they really wanted to invest in a lot of stuff. And in the beginning, Carlitos was a part of it too. And, you know, together we just kind of came up with with a lighting package, like what kind of lights we want to get, you know, modifiers, things like that.
What was the package? What was the package?
So we got man, we got two Nova 300Cs. We got two 600Xs, or I think 600Ds, aperture 600Ds.
Mm-hmm.
We got like two aperture 300Xs, two aperture or Amaran 100s,
Mm-hmm.
100Xs.
And this is 2021, correct?
Mm-hmm, yeah, 2021, the summer of 2021.
Yeah.
We got Pavo tubes. We got a bunch of aperture not MCs, the B7C bulbs.
The bulbs, yeah.
What else did we get? I think that might have been it. Then we got modifier, flags, scrims, nets. I mean, not nets. Diffusion, and a bunch of C stands. We got the math poles to put up in the ceiling so that you could hang lights down from it. Lanterns, soft boxes. Like, we literally got everything that we needed to to make things go. In addition to what they already had, like they already had some lights. They already had, the dolly, the data dolly. They had a 10-foot pole, 6'3". The camera, the Red Dragon 6K, Zeiss CP2s. So it was, I was walking into, as a DP, like when, working on bigger projects, you ideally want to walk into a situation where it's like, okay, I have the resources I need. We got the camera, like, a camera that I was familiar with Red. I hadn't worked with it as extensively at that time, but having a camera I was familiar with. I had used those lenses before with BZ. So it was just, there was already a base there. And then we were going to have, we had John, John on the squad. He was a key grip. We had Foe. He was a grip gaffer. Cognac came in. He came in to do photography, but he ended up doing grip work too. Staying with Buck. Buck came in as doing behind the scenes video, but then he ended up like helping us out too. So, but I mean, I can't, like, I basically went in. I mean, it was pretty much like a creative sandbox. Like, I could just do, like, I got all the tools here. I could pretty much do whatever. Like, they're giving me liberty to kind of do what I do. And so it was, we had our prep. We had our prep day, our prep days, just figuring out the space, the location, the main location we shot in. Shout out to Carla and Shanti and TT for all the production design, because they designed every set. Like, every interior set was designed. That was a huge help to give the show texture. But I mean, yeah, really, it was just knowing that I had resources to do what I needed to do, to get all these ideas. Like, okay, nothing is outside of the realm of possibility because we have what we need. I remember there was a scene we did. It was a car scene, a nighttime car scene. Tristan and man, I forget his name. But it was Tristan and it was another character. They're in the car, and it's supposed to be like he's underneath a street light, and they're just like they're outside of a store. So I got two C stands, rigged them up, rigged up arms, put a 300X up there with a lantern right in front of the car for street light. And we put a Nova in the back to give like a color pop as like a neon sign. Made it green. And then I had, I told folk, get in the street with a Pavo tube and just kind of wave it like that to show, okay, there's traffic going by. And it worked. Like, it ended up working. So just, I was just able to go crazy. I was just able to, like, kind of cut loose, be free, do what I needed to do. they weren't really reeling me in too much. My ideas were, like once they started to see, I know the first couple of days were, you know, people were like, man, why is it taking so long? Like, what we doing? We've been on this setup for a minute. What's going on? And then they would see the results and it was like, oh, okay, we get it. We get it now. Like, okay. So, yeah, man, I think if there were ever um, a great opportunity to have on the job training, McGraw was definitely on the job training. Oh, this is what works. This doesn't work, and really like be able to play and be free, and just figure it out and not be constrained in any way. Because look, Moolah takes their time. They want to get it right. They want to do, they want to have things looking A1. And so having that time to be able to do, to put the ideas out and then see if they work and tweak was just really, really helpful. And then after that, it was just, how do I get more efficient in executing these ideas?
Yeah. Yeah, you had the space to sort of almost like fail forward.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, nah, man, McGraw is great, bro. Like that, like I remember when I saw it and I was like, man, like, yeah, Chuck is like really ascending. And I remember it was crazy because people were like hitting me up. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, like, have you seen McGraw? I'm like, yeah, nigga, I've seen that shit. Like, that shit is crazy. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like, so, like, how would you say that, like, just working on whether it's Affliction, McGraw, you know, developing a look for mood, darker than blue, all of this stuff. How would you say, like, what has contributed most to, or how would you explain your style? Like that's what I would ask. Like, how would you explain your style?
So I think my style is, I've listened to a lot of Bradford Young interviews and talks, just talking about lineage, knowing, what your lineage is, where you come from, who you are. And I think in a subconscious way, I think the things that I was doing on McGraw and the things we did on Affliction and the things we did on Darker Than Blue, like I think subconsciously, like I was putting those things out there, but I really didn't understand what it is, like what I was actually doing, if that makes sense. So if, right now, if I were to describe my style, I know that I like a darker image. I like an underexposed image. And to me, what that means is, I think that's, I won't use a blanket statement and say that's reality, but that was my reality growing up. My reality growing up was, especially after my dad died, was a very dark existence. Even in a very innocuous way, like I would, in my bedroom, my childhood bedroom, the sun would set on that side of the house. So when I would come home from school, big gamer house, a huge gamer, would come home from school, wouldn't even do my homework. I'll just hop right on the game. But I would put up a blanket over my window to block the sun because the sun would just be beaming into the room and I couldn't see the TV. And I would just keep that blanket up all the time. I like my room dark. And that even, stayed. I mean, even now, like I like darker spaces. I like a dark room. And so, just that darkness, like I had to climb out of a lot of dark places mentally. And I had to walk into dark places mentally to try to heal. So when I, put my when I put my imprint on an image, it is darker because that was my reality. That was my lineage. Like I had to find light in darkness. And so I try to convey that, cinematically, because as, it's a case by case thing. Like, darkness doesn't apply in every situation. But I know for a film like Heaven, Me's character, like he has a lot of darkness brewing inside of him. He has a lot of things in him that he needed to address. And a lot of things that he struggled with. I mean, you see it, you see it in the dream sequences. You see it, with his relationship with, with her, even with every character and how we shot it, just kind of keeping that wall up. So, if I were to, just kind of tie it up and, say like, what is my style? Like my style is, it's a dark reality.
Okay, buddy, spitting. Okay. Buddy said a dark reality. Okay. Yeah. We got to make a movie called A Dark Reality.
Man, definitely got to be dark reality.
No, but so you talked about Heaven. And I know this is what, like, honestly, people probably gonna want to see more than anything is us go through some of these scenes from Heaven. So for all y'all waiting on that shit and don't care about me and Chuck, it's time.
Definitely want to know.
It is time. It's a
C. The words of Rafiki. It is time.
Exactly. Okay, can you see this, Chuck?
Yeah.
Okay. Where you want to start? You want to start with this? You want to start with this one, or where you want to start?
Well, let's go back to the first one because I think that this frame in particular, I think is my favorite frame in the whole film. Because I remember our our initial conversations about the project and reading those early pages and reading the dream sequences. And I feel like the first images that I had in my head when I read the script were from the dream sequences. And I feel like the way that we executed it was pretty damn close to what I had imagined in my head of like, oh man, this is how I see it. And so, just,
so what was your, and I'm gonna get into this and then I guess we can like take a moment to sort of discuss like our pre-production philosophy because it did change quite a bit. But what was your philosophy going into a shot like this, lighting wise? Like what'd you do? Yeah.
So we had before, going into I mean, and we're gonna talk about prep and stuff like that. But we kind of had a list of like a guide of how do we want to light nighttime interiors. And the biggest thing was practicals. Like we want to use practicals. The day before, like when we went in and we, kind of unloaded gear and it was like our day zero, we went in and we changed the bulbs in every or we put dimmers on every fixture in the house.
Yeah.
We changed the bulbs out. We put those tungsten sun-filled bulbs in every fixture that we knew we were going to shoot in. And that was like number one. And then we didn't do it in this room. But we put up that black material to try to be able to create some sort of, some kind of contrast. And the whole place is white. Like it was just white. Everything is white in there. Yeah. So that, that created, it wasn't an issue, but, it definitely created some challenges in figuring out how we wanted to do things. So, the practicals, putting the bulbs in there was number one. and getting them dim enough to where they're not totally blown out on screen, but finding the middle ground of where they're actually doing something for the frame.
Mm-hmm.
And really the philosophy for, I mean, these sequences and just the film in general was to light the space, not, you know, not particularly worry so much about faces and characters. So yeah, we started in this room with the bulbs on the dimmers, in the lamp fixtures. And then color contrast was something that we talked a lot about in prep too. So back in the kitchen, there's in the right corner, there's a window with curtains that are kind of like affixed to the window. And so Tom put a tube in that window, set it to blue, turned it down. And then we had a Amron 300C in the kitchen, deep in the kitchen, like more to the right, just as low as we could get it, blue, just to kind of raise the exposure, just so it wasn't darkness back there, to create that color contrast. Because otherwise, it's just flat, and we definitely wanted to stay away from making flat images, especially in a place where it's just white. So that was a philosophy, just trying to light the space and create depth and contrast with our light.
Yeah, we were tiptoeing the exposure line the whole film. Like we didn't care.
Very much.
Like we were definitely tiptoeing. We did not care. It was like, hey, we're gonna push this to the max. Here, I want to bring these in here really quick because these are the teasers that we shot, or two of the teasers that we shot. I don't have teaser one handy, but I remember these were shot on so it's a frame in here that I love. It's like where Don gets closer and his eyes are just like piercing.
Yeah.
And this is with the Ursa 12K and the super speeds. And we end up not getting the super speeds because it is a money thing, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? We had the Vespids, but talk about how much the philosophy changed, because this looks very different, from the movie. This is the teaser that we shot before. We shot these teasers before we filmed the movie, and we had a totally different idea. Of course, you can see the aspect ratio is 1:66. The super speeds, I think we are pretty close to wide open on this, right, Chuck?
Yeah.
These, or maybe at T18, 17 or something like that.
Yeah, I don't think we were totally wide open, but we were close.
Yeah. So I guess talk a bit about how the style and the visual storytelling sort of changed for you. I can kind of give my perspective, but how did it change for you when it came to how we started off doing it, or what we planned to do initially?
So I know one of our early conversations were, because this was around the time when Oppenheimer had came out, and I went to go see it, and I listened to an interview from the DP, Hoyt Van Hoytema, and he talked about his conversations with Chris Nolan about how they wanted to make the film and what they wanted to convey visually. And he said in his interview that the film is a film about faces. And what they did was they tried to get as close as they could in the movie. I mean, they shot, IMAX and got right up in there, and, seeing a face up close in IMAX like that, you really convey a lot of emotions doing that. So that was something that we really wanted to do. I know we talked about doing, but I know our conversations we initially started off talking about shooting the flashbacks with the pocket and the tacks, the super Tacomars, to kind of give a contrast and look between the dreams and the reality stuff. So I know with this, like our test, like going into it, we were really testing to see, okay, what does it look like to, get wide and close?
Mm-hmm.
We did talk about initially doing 1.66, and then eventually, like, we decided against that and pivoted and did something else.
Yeah.
But I mean, really, the thing that I know a lot of things visually change, but I know the one thing that remained consistent from this to the actual film was conveying Don's emotions, and because there's a lot of moments he has where he's not saying anything, where he's contemplating, he's in that mode. So, was how do we do that? How do we make this film? I mean, and then we realized the film was more heady than we thought it was.
Absolutely.
And so how do we isolate him from all these people? And then we start, saying, okay, we don't want him to share frames with the other characters. We want, clean singles. And I think the overall look, I think we just organically found that look as we were doing it. Because initially we talked about shooting close-ups with the 40. Yeah. And then we did one with the 50, with the 25, got up close, and we're just like, oh yeah, that's it. That's that's it. And then we just kept, doing close-ups with the 25 throughout the film. So I know our conversation started with the Oppenheimer, kind of the Oppenheimer philosophy, but then it just, grew. It grew organically. And then we location scouting, you went and you shot a bunch of frames to test to see, like, do these things work? And then we just kind of, we just tweaked and adjusted and really found what worked, what we liked as we were doing it. We weren't beholden to the original plan.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the film became infinitely more stylish than the initial, ideas, that we had. Like, so this is the 25, of course, like it just became like, I don't know. It almost felt, I think the cool thing about Heaven, is that I think to a degree it feels both, grand and intimate simultaneously. And I think the 2:3:5 aspect ratio really lends itself to that. Everybody always asks me about this shot. So yeah. All right.
What about it specifically do they ask about?
It's like, how did y'all do that? It's like, well, we just pointed the camera towards the window.
Yeah. the interesting thing that I don't think gets said enough about shots like these, and even the test frame that we just talked about with Don, like on the super speeds, is that I know like exposure, like there's such a, I don't want to say there's a fear of stopping down, but I mean, sometimes it just, like, if you place people where you need them to be or where you want them to be, and just stop down, man. Like this frame isn't like, we're not pushing any light. We're not like, this is natural. This is all natural.
It's all natural.
But we kind of found the difference between retaining information outside, but not totally putting them in silhouette. And I mean, that's really, like, that's the simplicity of it. I wish I could say it was more complicated than that, but it's really, really that simple. Just finding the balance between, okay, do I need to stop down to 5.6 with, 4 stops at ND or 6 stops at ND? whatever.
And we shot a
Sometimes it's
lot
that.
of the film at 1250 ISO,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
we could get that latitude and the highlights, which
Mm-hmm.
when you shot the 12K at 1250, it just does something really unique. Like it has like a little bit of grain, but then it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
because it's pushing most of the information into the highlights, is giving you more room in the highlights. It just gives you like a really, really nice roll off
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, what else? What other frame do we have? I mean, this is essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
You just kind of letting it. Oh, probably my favorite frame in the film, right here.
Yeah, I love this frame.
So the funny
Love
thing
this
about
frame.
it is that most of the film is either shot like with available light or one source.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
One source, yeah.
well, I guess technically it's an
Well, keyed
MC.
with one source.
Yeah, it's an MC like right down in here,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right down in there. But yeah, like so. And if I recall correctly, this is literally just the F-22C, right?
F-22. Yep.
You know what I'm
Yep. It's
saying?
the
Just
F-22 right above their head with a
skirt around it.
with a curtain, with a skirt around it. That's it.
Yeah, and it was sort of behind them, which caused them to be silhouetted as well.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, and yeah, man, this scene
Crazy
is
because
just
there was
great.
no room. There was no room in that.
Man, yeah,
It was tight. Like we had, like C-stand, arm, and then the
yeah.
camera's like right here.
Yeah, and
And
then
then the
it
light
was
is
that light right at the top of the ceiling too. So it was like
right at the
touching.
ceiling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But nah, man, it's actually interesting. I'm just now noticing on this frame how so Snipes is sort of like, monochromatic on this side of the frame, because of
Mm-hmm.
course he's, the light is warm, which the brown with the green jacket, which is it's warm, and then of course his skin is warm, but then Lulu has this blue that just pops.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was grading it, that was the main thing, was just make sure I got color separation in the grade. But then
Yeah.
you see like this other blue down here, so it's almost like the world is split in
The world
two.
is split. Yeah. No,
Like
that's hard. I didn't even.
yeah,
Yeah.
me neither. Like you're not gonna
I
be
didn't even
able to.
think.
Go ahead.
No, I'm saying I didn't even see it like that until you just brought it up. Like,
Me
oh,
neither. Because look,
dang.
it's like that's those
Yeah.
are the two different worlds, right? You know what
That's
I
crazy.
mean?
Yeah. That's crazy.
And I think with his hand like pulling her in like that, it's almost like she's pulling him
Mm-hmm.
into his world.
Yeah.
To a
Yeah.
degree. But yeah,
It's
Did you double diff the F-22 for this? I think, did you double
yeah.
diff it?
Yeah. We double diffed the whole time.
Yeah.
I
We
mean,
had
there
it
was
with
some
a
scenes where we even put the like a sheer curtain, and
yeah.
we would wrap it up. We would wrap it in. I don't know if we ever wrapped it in muslin, but I know we did the curtain to get like a triple diffusion in the bedroom scenes.
Yeah.
In mother's bedroom scenes anyway.
Yeah. Okay. This shot,
That
I feel.
kitchen that kitchen frame is also it's also cool because right before that moment, he talks about being a shade, and then she rebuts him and says, when I look at you, I don't see a shade, I see a multifaceted human. And then when they come together, it's like he's a shade, like he's still a shade and he's shading her. And I think that's like I thought that's really what made that moment so cold for me. And it's like, man, they have this tender moment. This is the first time like he really opens up and gets vulnerable. But it's still like that darkness that's in him is still like, it's still a presence over her, in him. Like, it's cool, man. It's cool. It's a lot of messages in there for sure.
Absolutely. Let's here, I want to pull up a scene. I want to put, because we have this scene, but I feel like this scene is really it really doesn't do it justice if we don't see like we don't see like that scene. Again, I would
I'm
say,
leaning into it. Yeah.
yeah, I would say for anybody, like this is like major spoilers. Like I'm gonna kind of try and skip past it, but I would say like, hey, like, okay, here we go. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, I got past it. Okay. So this shot to me is so dope. I love this shot.
Man, it's
Okay.
spiritual.
It's definitely spiritual. It's definitely spiritual.
It was spiritual and it was done out of necessity.
Absolutely.
Hey, you can talk more to that.
No, but look, so
how we shot this scene.
Yeah, so like this whole scene, actually, let me go back here. Because I don't want to reveal too much by accident. So I'm just gonna kind of like scrub through that boy Quentin. You remember Quentin kept leaving the door open?
Man.
Okay, so this shot is I love this shot. So see Donnell down there washing his hands.
Yeah, this is crazy.
And then he comes up. It's like he disappears, and then then just appears.
Comes right back in there.
That's real Godfather-esque.
Man, definitely shout out to Gordon Willis because I was definitely channeling the spirit of him.
But so it's interesting. So of course that's an F-22 above us, above them. But the interesting thing about this scene is that this entire scene was lit with all practicals. Actually, let me. I'm gonna play through it, but I'm gonna try and.
It's all practicals and the MC Pro for the highlight on the camera. That was it.
All right, let me stop right there before I spoil some shit.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else do we got in here? Oh, you know what else we got in here, Chuck? This is what I always show you. Like these daytime exteriors, I like these are really good too. And again, we didn't have any external lighting on these, right? These are just straight, just blocking the sun with the 8x8, right?
Yeah, it was just diffusing with the 8x8.
Yeah.
And just expose. I don't even think we use negative fill either. And I think it was all just the one thing. The sun being where it was helped too.
And this was a blessing because this was in February, early February when we shot this. And it just happened to work out in our favor. You know what I mean?
No snow, no
same
sunny
thing.
Days, like it was good.
Exactly. Same thing on the uncle scenes. And again, I know you broke down this scene in the on IG, but it's I guess go through what you did here too as well.
So funny enough, this was on the last day of production.
Yeah, and it's the first scene of the movie.
First scene of the movie is on the last day of production.
And we shot the last scene of the movie on the first day of production.
It's crazy. That's good.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But this scene, we because Don, yeah, we had power. Yeah, we had power. Did we have power, or were we running off a generator for this scene? I think we had power. We had power for this scene.
Yeah, I think we had power, but I know you were lighting from outside, so.
Yeah, this was abandoned. I mean, in the script, it's abandoned house. And I remember when there's a shot in here where we got a I think it was either Don or Grover's feet just walking. Yeah, this shot
Grover's.
walking across the floor. And I remember reading that in the script, and I don't know what brought it to me, but I'm like, man, this scene feels like something out of Sicario. Like the scene, the raid scene of
at the
Sicario.
beginning.
Yeah. And so again, just without having too much room in the living room, like we push light from the outside, just due to where the sun was, what direction the house was facing. We just needed more exposure in that room. We couldn't we couldn't do much with the blinds. It was either we just raise the blinds all the way and just have the window bare, or keep the blinds down and push light through. And I thought it would be best to just push light through with the blinds down. And we put two, what we used? We used a 650. We used a 650 and a 300 out there through diffusion. To lift the exposure in there. And then everything else is just like, that was it.
Yeah,
like,
how it naturally fell.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. And just let everything fall how it did naturally. I forget if did we talk about using haze in the scene? I don't know I don't remember if we talked about it or not, but I don't know, for whatever reason, like I was like, man, I feel like this is a hazy scene. It felt, I mean, but it kind of looks like it was, that like that early morning, like the sun is peeking through and you can see like the dust particles like flying in the air. Like that's almost what this scene feels like after the fact, like after we got it. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. It's my favorite shot right here. That
this actually, the hands is one of my favorite shots, to be honest.
Yeah, I love this shot. Yeah, I love this shot.
Like all the stuff with his hands. But it's interesting about this scene too, is that it sort of doesn't look like anything else in the film. It feels different. But I'm glad that we shot it at the end, because I like the fact that it feels different, and that it feels, but it's still ominous, but it's in daylight, because a lot of the film is dark, a lot of film just doesn't take place during the daytime, or he's not doing his deeds. He's mostly doing his deeds when it's dark out, And so this scene literally feels like, it almost is like a false sense of security.
Yeah.
That's what this scene is. And that it just builds
and
to
then it
like,
just
And Don's performance is incredible in this scene. I mean, Grover and Don, they both killed it. Grover really played it. But to me, Don, his performance in this scene is similar, like, it's like Bud Crawford, like walking somebody down.
Yeah.
Like Bud, he don't really get a lot of early knockouts, but like he'll knock you out late, like, because he's just gonna like start walking you down. And to me, that's what Don is doing in this scene. He's just slowly walking you down, just bringing you into it. And I knew when I wrote this scene, because you remember, I had the entire story, but I didn't have an opening to the script. This is the last scene that I actually came up with before I started writing the script. I didn't have an opening. And I'm like, man, I know that we got to hook them. We got to hook them quick, because I know the way I tell stories, I like to take my time. So if I don't take my time, if I don't hook them quickly, then, it's going to be tough to keep them engaged. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, no, Don killed this shit for sure.
Yeah, I think it speaks to. I think that scene is a testament to the fact that we did it on the last day, and that we were able to, just set that tone and execute the way we did. I think it's just a testament to like just the preparation and the production itself, because it never felt like the production never felt like, I mean, of course we had our, we had our problems that we had to solve, but by the end of it, it didn't feel like, oh man, this just wiped me out to the point to where I'm not even like, I'm just in kind of like an autopilot right now. And I'm not even like executing that much, like executing at a high level, just kind of going through the motions. And that first scene just like feels like, okay, man, that was one of the last things we did. Like the second to last scene we shot, because we did the car stuff after that. And the fact that we were able to execute at the end, like that was just, like, I think that just speaks to a testament of just the production overall.
Yeah, no, it was relatively smooth. It was definitely the smoothest production that I've been on. You know what I mean? It was efficient. I mean, we only went over 2 days, and we expected to go over those days because both those days, I think, had 15 pages and 13 pages respectively. So they were gonna go over. But yeah, man, I think it worked out. It worked out really, really well. And I'm just proud. I'm proud of the images just throughout. It's just like really, really good stuff throughout. That we were able to accomplish. And I'm just proud. I'm proud of the film. I'm proud of the film. I think. Oh, this is also one of my favorite shots too. I love this shot. I love this scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I love the
this
way.
one was interesting. That was an interesting challenge, just given the fact that we couldn't put any lights inside, so we had to try to find exposure down there.
And isn't it a like the Amaran outside? It's like a window behind this wall, correct?
Yeah.
And then y'all had the Amaran kind of blasting through there.
No, it's a 650.
Oh, the 650 was blasting through there.
Yeah, the 650, and I had I think I was bouncing it off of a reflector, so it wasn't just like super harsh, but it kind of mimicked sunlight was coming through. I mean, and it did just enough. Yeah, it did just enough for what we needed. Yeah, no, I love. This is like one of my favorite. I mean, I love the performance because it's just like a real wholesome scene from them too. Yeah. But I love the way it looks as well. I think wardrobe and stuff has a good a big play in that as well. And it's also interesting because I remember in the script, I wrote this scene specifically with the idea that hopefully people would like just, try to figure out what's Twin's thing. Like, what's his agenda? Because he just pops up he pops up again. It's just like, bro, like, I know we just reconnected, but like, and I feel like even the way that it was shot in the distance and all of that, it definitely did that in a good way. Yeah. Yeah, we're not gonna go into Ricos. Shout out to Juan Kar-wai, man.
Exactly, for sure.
Shout out to Juan Kar-wai and Chris Doyle for the putting something in the foreground, man.
Man, and of course the closest, the hero. Yeah, this is funny. Like Chuck said, our initial hero lens originally was going to be the 40, but it ended up being the 25. And it just allowed us to really just, I don't know, like it because the script is written in first person. It's almost like the 25 allowed us to distort me's worldview to a degree. When we got in that 25 and it was mostly handheld. So the first half of the film is mostly 40 locked off, but then as it gets progressively crazier, it's 25 and it's mostly handheld. And I think this is sort of one of those scenes where he's having I don't call him flashbacks. I'm saying he's hallucinating because I think he's somebody who definitely deals with PTSD. And so those memories are really real for him. Yeah. you know, and Don is great in
He
these
killed
types of
that.
scenes. He's great. He's a beast when it comes to this type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's like real, it's authentic. You know what I'm saying? So, but nah, man, we could spend all day going through all of this stuff. Again, like it's a blessing to be able to kind of create this with you. You know what I'm saying?
Man,
And
absolutely. And
you
see our
know,
growth, man. See
absolutely,
like how far we've come so fast,
yeah,
and being able to, I mean, because I think, you know, we didn't really touch on this part, but I think, you know, I think it's just you know, it's a product of, I mean, you started writing the script around what, July of
July of 23,
23.
and then we shot February
We
24.
shot February 24.
Mm-hmm.
And from the time you had first told me about the idea to the time you started writing the script, like we were talking about it damn near every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, talking about ideas, you know, you sending me pages, I
Mm-hmm.
read them, you know, like you sending pages around. So we was locked in on this for,
Mm-hmm.
you know, before a camera even went up, well over 6 months.
Yeah, no, for sure. I remember sending you the first 10 pages, and I was like, well, I want to shoot it during the wintertime in
Mm-hmm,
February. And you were like, let's lock in the dates, you know?
mm-hmm,
You know?
yeah,
And I was like, all right. So we locked in the dates, February 4th through the 11th. And those are the dates that we shot the film,
yeah.
you know? So it definitely worked out. I'm definitely grateful for it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, like again, you know, I tell this story. I think it was like after day 3, and we had shot, I forget, it was some shots that we had got. And I was just looking through them because I would go through and I would kind of put like a temporary grade on the shots, and then I would just send them to the group chat. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I remember I cried looking at the shots, like just because I was just, and not because I was happy for me. You know what I'm saying? I was just happy because I'm like, oh, I feel like Chuck can really get his just due on a film that he really likes. You know what I'm saying? That
Mm-hmm.
he likes, that like something
Yeah,
that
that
where it's not just like, I know that this is a film that you and I will both watch. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
You know, like
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, that was like really cool. So I was just grateful just to be able to create it and like see the growth. And then I think that was really our first time where we weren't doing like the hybrid thing either. Like it
Oh
was
yeah, yeah.
solely I'm directing, Chuck is
Mm-hmm.
DP, and that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty much, I'm staying out of it. I mean, of course, I'm
Mm-hmm.
contributing my perspective. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
But it's
right, yeah,
solely
yeah.
that DP credit is solely Chuck. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like all the projects that we did up to that point, whether it was Darker Than Blue, Mood, Affliction, all of that, I feel like it kind of culminated to a degree in heaven. And now I
Mm-hmm.
feel like we've sort of built something to where it's just like, I mean, you could go off and shoot like something with um, Ryan Coogler next year, and I'm still gonna call you like, hey, we got, like, let's shoot this. You know what I'm saying? That thing, like,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the goal. Like that was why
Yeah,
I
I
was
mean,
happy. Oh, and this is kind of like a segue because the last thing where I want to close with was like your experience with the ASC mentorship program, but
oh yeah,
that
yeah.
was a cool thing because you were sending the screenshots to John,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah,
And now that
yeah.
was like really, really, that was really cool to where we're literally getting, you know, advice on the images from
Mm-hmm.
an ASC member.
An ASC member, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Ooh,
Which was crazy. So I guess you could talk
yeah,
about that and then just talk a little bit about your experience with the ASC and kind of like what that did for you.
yeah. No, you know, being able to you know, sending John Newby, you know, sending him stills of what we were doing kind of in real time and him giving feedback. That was just like, it was surreal, man. It was surreal to you know, for us to feel like the work that we put into that point kind of culminates into these images that we're really proud of, and to then get, co-sign from, someone who is a legend, who is, part of the American Society of Cinematographers, that, you know, everybody can't get into that. Like, it's not it's not like you sign up for it. Like, you got to be, like there's a process to get in there. And, so to be able to have that mentorship, even as we were going, and even afterwards, like, he and I sat down and we're looking at frames, and he like, I sent him the film, like the cut that, I sent him the finished cut. He watched it twice. We sat down, we had a meeting, and he pulled frames from it. And, just kind of, we just went through and was like, hey, I, really like what you did here with this. Next time, try doing this or try that, or this can get tricky if you do this, or, just being able to have, someone who is, who's been there, who's done it at the highest level for years and years, decades. Like, that was really cool. And that was such a, it was such affirmation, to really kind of crystallize. I mean, I still think that it's wild that I even got into that mentorship program, to be honest. But, I think it just kind of crystallized, like, okay, we're on the right track. We're on the right track.
That's a fact.
And so, the mentorship program period, at that time, before I even signed up, because I didn't even know about it. I didn't even know about the program before I signed up for it. And I remember I worked with, this was two years ago in April, I worked with my boy Tom Meredith on a short. And, I got to see him work, and I got to work with him. And, we got to talking, and he told me, he said, man, the way that you just kind of, bridge the gap between where you're trying to go to where you are now, just like, just start reaching out to people you admire, have meetings with them, let them know who you are. And after that, I was just, that just kind of put a battery in my back, and I reached out to Johnny Simmons, just kind of sent him a message like, hey, I've known of your work for a while. I've studied your work, love if you have any advice for, a young Black image maker coming up. Like, I'm just trying to find the next, find that next level. I messaged him on Instagram. He calls me on Instagram like 30 minutes later.
That's some real old head stuff.
Bro, yeah, I was shocked. Like, I'm outside. I was outside. I think me and Oscar were outside, like, just like, I think he was just playing outside, and I was just sitting out there, and I look at the phone, I see it's John Simmons. I'm like, what? I answer the phone. He's talking to me like just that uncle from, at the cookout. Yeah. Who, like, he known me for years and years, and he just talked, like, he just kicked it with me for a good 25 minutes. And he told me, he said, hey, send me some of your work. You should, sign up for the ASC Mentorship program. Sent him my work, and he's like, oh yeah, absolutely. Sign up for it. Like, your work is the bomb. Is exactly what he said. He said, your work is the bomb. Sign up for the program. So I did. I signed up for it. It's funny. We were on Project 313. Yeah. I submitted my application, and I got a call from one of the guys at the ASC, and they were just trying to make sure that my application had went through. And I got in. And, I've been able to meet just a lot of different, people, a lot of DPs from, I've met DPs in, Europe and France and Africa and London, Mexico. Like, I've been able to talk to a lot of different people and get a lot of different perspectives, and just been able to see that, some of the things that I particularly have struggled with or have been frustrated with is kind of a universal thing. It's not just a, isolated thing. So that, building that community, which is really, it's really been cool. And having the mentorship, because mentorship is, I covet that, and just being able to have somebody, that I can just reach out to pretty much whenever and just, be like, hey, what do you think it is, sir? Hey, I need your advice on that. And, he's willing, he's like, he's open to share whatever. Like, that's just been really cool. And it's been a confidence booster for sure.
Yeah.
Because getting in that program is not, they don't, it's just like the ASC. Like, the process is pretty similar to how it would be to try to get into the ASC. It's not quite the same, but it's similar. So to be able to, have a body of work and be able to express my ideas and communicate and articulate those things and have those guys take me seriously enough to be like, hey, we want, we're going to mentor you because we think that, like, you have something in you that we could help, help push forward. Like, it's cool. It's affirmational. It's a confidence boost for sure. And, I'm forever grateful for that, that opportunity and just everything that led to it. Cause, I think, when I look at heaven, like we were talking about in the beginning, we can't make heaven without affliction. We can't make heaven without mood. We can't make heaven without darker than blue. We can't make heaven
without Project 313.
Project 313, McGraw. We can't do it without those. So, all the experiences, all the lessons learned, kind of just culminated to a piece that I'm extremely proud of. And I know when I share frames, I'm like, man, this is my favorite frame of the film. Like, bro, I got a million favorite frames in the film, exactly. And I'm just, definitely enjoying that. I would turn on and watch anytime. So,
well, it's a difference between your favorite frames and your favorite moments. I think those can kind of get kind of mixed up sometimes, because I might have like a favorite frame that I just like looking at, but then there's certain moments where it's just like, ooh, that hit me in the chest. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, but nah, man. Again, like I said, bro, I'm proud of you. You know what I'm saying? I'm proud of where you came from. You know what I'm saying? And you just gonna continue to grow. You know what I'm saying? Now, we got some other stuff. We did next joints. You know what I'm saying?
Got some heat.
You know what I'm saying?
Got some heat in the index. You know what I'm saying?
It ain't over. It ain't over. Like Kirk Franklin said, it ain't over. It ain't over. So yeah, man. But nah. And so yeah, this is the first episode of Film Homies. Had to bring the ultimate film homie, Chuck, on, Charles Kennedy Jr. You know what I'm saying? DP extraordinaire. Charles also has an amazing script that he needs to direct eventually once he gets back into directing this stuff. But yeah, one of the best, and grateful to have you as a collaborator, bro.
Wow. Remember back in the day, we said back in the day, like, man, well, I guess it was 7 years ago. So I guess that is kind of back in the day. We'd be like, man, black actors, man.
Black actors. Black actors. Black actors.
Black actors, we got to stick together.
Eat your sandwich, Dave. Give me a sandwich, Dave. Exactly. Nah, man, but yeah, so I appreciate y'all. We gonna continue doing this, doing more breakdowns. We might just kind of have to do like a breakdown, like especially once heaven is like out there, like go through the film, like almost like do like a director DP commentary, because there's so many moments when I'm looking at the film, like I can go through. It's just like, dang, like that even just some of the quiet moments that are just like beautiful and just poignant, you know what I'm saying? So definitely want to go through that. But in the meantime, you know, we're going to keep creating and keep doing it. So peace to y'all, and thank y'all for tuning in to this first episode. Peace. Okay, let me